Hey guys, it's Zero Plus, and welcome to my first vlog ever. Aside from the, aside from the one that I did before this to let you guys know what these were all about. This first one that I'm doing is kind of something that's bothered me for a while. It's the difference between the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and the Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Now, I know a lot of people like Ocarina of Time more because they say it's easier, it makes more sense, and it's the first game. A lot of people just kind of tack on Majora's Mask as some dumb second-rate game that was the unnecessary sequel to Ocarina of Time. And from a certain view and standpoint, that would make sense. But you see, even though Ocarina of Time was original, and it was an idea of its own, Majora's Mask was really an idea of itself anyway. I mean, when you think about it, Ocarina of Time, even though it's the one we all know and love, being original and all, it wasn't exactly all that original, you know? Get all the pieces to open up the final pathway and then beat the final boss, which is Ganon. That's the typical theme of a Zelda game. So that's not exactly original. I mean, yeah, it's first 3D Zelda game, but it had its own story, but it's Zelda as we know it. Majora's Mask, this was a completely different story. You get ambushed, your ocarina gets taken away, and then you have to save this time-trapped town of Termina from a fate that'll end badly in 3 days. That's new to the Zelda script. So, right off the bat, you can't say one's a crappy sequel to the other, and the first one to begin with wasn't that original. But don't get me wrong, I'm not going to decide either way. I mean, I love both games equally. As you guys know, I've done a LP of Ocarina of Time to begin with, so I wouldn't be knocking it if I didn't like it, you know? So another thing, Majora's Mask, to dive into this a little bit, Majora's Mask was meant to be more mature than it looks. I don't mean like in rating, because what I mean is the actual meaning of the game, the story. In Ocarina of Time, you're a kid, you do all the things in your life and adventure that a kid can do, and then you transform into an adult and do all the things in your adventure that an adult can do. And then you turn back into a kid, and then you live out your life the way it was, which starts Majora's Mask, at least according to the timeline theory. Which, yes, there technically is no timeline. I'm not going to go on some long rant about the magical Legend of Zelda timeline. I mean, if you think there's one, and you can piece together a thought that there might be one, that's your choice. I, for one, tend to think that there may be a timeline out there somewhere. I've tried concocting my own timeline myself. And it's actually in league with quite a few other timelines that I've seen. Stupid chair, I keep slipping it, slide it all over the place. But anyway, what I mean by Majora's Mask being more mature and complex, Ocarina of Time, you're a kid, do what you can do as a kid, you turn into an adult, do what you can do as an adult. In Majora's Mask, you're a kid the whole time. You can only change who you are between Deku, Goron, and Zora. Now in this, you get to mature as a human being. In Ocarina of Time, you matured physically. You age 7 years like that. Go from kid to adult like that. It's solid. That's all you need to know. That's all the game ever tells you. That's all they want you to know. That's all you ever have to care about. But in Majora's Mask, they kind of make you a more mature person slowly, more subtly. They kind of gently ease you into it. Because let's think about it. Link, when he gets to Termina, he's a kid. He's saved the world once before. Saving the world's no new journey to him. But then he gets turned into a Deku. Dekus aren't exactly the strongest of their kind. Not exactly smart. I mean, sure, he has intelligence, but when you think about it, when you get to the Deku Palace, they're kind of a tribal race, based around ritual. So, although they're intelligent, they have knowledge, they're not exactly wise like you or I am today. So, he doesn't exactly have the strength, he doesn't have the speed, except for that cool ballerina movie does. But aside from that, he doesn't really have speed, doesn't really have stamina, not strength, intelligence. He doesn't really have much going for him. On top of that, he's really weak. So, there's just this really big new world around him. From the beginning of the game, you're already a Deku. So, there's just this big world around you that you have to adjust to really, really fast. So then, when you get your ocarina back, You go back in time, turn into a human again. You're thankful for what you had before. You may have thought, I can't do that much because I'm a kid. But compared to being a Deku, you think, wow, I can do things as who I am. I can think, I can plan. I'm faster, I'm stronger than these poor creatures. And then, the world's still a big place. It's like, I don't have much to work with, but I'll work to the best of my ability to save this poor town. But there's still not much you can do. You're still just a kid with a sword. In enters Goron, like. Darmani, which was the spirit that was the Goron's mask, was a war hero. He'd saved his own people before, and died trying to fight the creature at what is it? Snowhead Temple. I'm trying to save names and prevent things from getting given away. So, yeah, you turn into a big strapping Goron. You have speed because you can do the Goron roll thing. You're strong. You can lift up heavy things. Even though they live in a city, but still they have a common and intricate, complex system, a livelihood. So he gets to live out a life of a grown-up person, a war hero at that. So, like, anybody you know that's like 20, in their 20s, late 20s, coming back from whatever war they may have served in recently, like over in Iraq, as a war hero, a veteran. They've already done that at such a young age, youngish age. So, world's not so much a big place anymore. Kind of broad, still widespread, but not exactly big around you anymore. So then, we turn into Zora Link. Zora Link ushers in a whole new aspect that was barely touched upon in Ocarina of Time, a romantic relationship. Now, yes, in Ocarina of Time, when you're a kid, Ruto gives you the Zora Sapphire and says, this is kind of like the Zora's engagement ring. This means you have to marry me. Oh, crap. So then, when you turn into adult and then you go to the Water Temple, she holds you to that. Now, sure, you don't get married in the game, but still, she's going to hold you to it. Now, in Majora's Mask, Link was never hit on by anybody, but the entity that was the Zora's Mask, Mikau, had a romantic relationship with the singer of the Indigogos, whose name was Lulu. So, this romantic relationship built between these two now extends between Link and Lulu, because Link has to help her get the Zora eggs back to help save Great Bay. With her help, of course, because she's the guardian of Great Bay Temple, because her mother, and just through heritage and genetics, that trait was passed down. So, we're competent in our abilities as a human being. We've lived out the life of a war hero, so the world's not quite that big to us anymore. And the world's an even smaller place now because we've lived out a romantic experience. World's kind of shrinking in on us now. There's not very many things we can't do anymore. And then we go to Ikana Canyon. Now, yes, in Ikana Canyon you do not get a mask that transforms you into anything. However, you get 4 different masks throughout Ikana Canyon that help you talk to the dead. And so, through this, you can experience the pain and suffering, and in some cases, the joy and happiness of times past. So, on top of all this experience you've gained through these different forms you've taken, you are now wiser to the past and present and the ensuing future, learning from past events, from these fallen warriors and such. So this really delves more into the complexity of what Majora's Mask is, and this is kind of why a lot of people don't think... See, a lot of people don't think about stuff like this. You probably never had this thought before in your life. So a lot of people don't see that, so that's why they put Majora's Mask on the back burner to Ocarina of Time. I've got notes here, so if you wonder why I'm looking down, kind of a odd place at 9.5 minutes telling you guys this. So yeah, that's why a lot of people put Majora's Mask on the back burner in comparison to Ocarina of Time. Actually, that did eat up quite a bit of my time, but at the same time, there's a couple other things I wanted to talk about. In Ocarina of Time, you had 3 dungeons as a child, and then, 6 dungeons as an adult. Now, yes, these dungeons, for a first-timer, they may not be easy. They may take getting used to, but through these dungeons, boss battles, strategies for fighting these bosses, the mazes ensuing in some of them, and I know a lot of people complain that in Ocarina of Time, the water temple is so hard. It's not really that hard. It's just tedious and difficult because you have to pause every 2 seconds to put the iron boots on, take them off, put them back on, get the hook shot out so that you can go over there because you can only use that underwater. It's not really that hard. It's just kind of mazy, and you need to pause every 2 seconds. So, kind of annoying. And side quests. That's another thing I wanted to talk about. In Ocarina of Time, you had very few side quests. I mean, yeah, you had... I'm trying to just name a few off the top of my head. You had the optional, fully optional Gerudo maze, which gets you the ice arrow. Now, you go through all that, and you get the ice arrow, which isn't really a dungeon helper. I mean, yeah, I got the ice arrow. It doesn't help you. I mean, yeah, the fire arrow. That torch is not lit. What do you do with the ice arrow? I mean, at least in Majora's Mask, you could shoot it on solid water surfaces, and hey, I made an ice block to stand on. And you can freeze enemies with it to climb onto, and then get up to higher platforms. You couldn't do that in Ocarina of Time. That's why they made the ice arrow a completely optional item. Speaking of Majora's Mask now, I wanted to talk about the same thing. Dungeons, mazes, and side quests. Dungeons, mages, and side quests. The dungeons, there were 4 dungeons, kind of making it a little bit easier. However, they were a little bit more intricate, seeing as there weren't as many for you to do. They added in the optional Stray Fairy side quests, where you have to collect all 15, bring them back to the Great Fairy, you get a superpower. Which I thought that was great to make the game, to make or break the game for you, because you need that much more protection with your health and defense, or you need that much more magic for, say, you're rolling as a Goron. So, just really, really, I thought it was a great idea how they implemented that, where if you wanted to make something that much easier, you had to get all 15 fairies. Mazes. Now, I will say this. In Ocarina of Time, the water temple, although it wasn't exactly hard, it was tedious. So, it was like intermediate difficulty and tedious. In Majora's Mask, Great Bay Temple is tedious and difficult. Oh. Not on top of, if you wanted to do a perfect run, get all the 15 fairies within, that's just making it so much harder. Because it's just such a long, intricate, mazy, difficult area. On top of that, there's a boss, which is ridiculously hard to fight, unless you have the Fierce Deity's Mask. Because literally, you can just stand up there on the platform and shoot your sword beams at it until it dies. But otherwise, you have to, like, turn into young Link, shoot it with an arrow to stun it, turn back into Zora Link, jump in there, and zap it. It's ridiculous how hard they make Gaiorg. On top of that, and then you have the dungeon and the Stray Fairy quests ensuing within. So just ridiculous right there. Nah, I don't want to talk about that. I'm looking at my thing here. I talked enough about the story already, and I talked about the timeline, so I kind of finalizes everything that I wanted to talk about. So yeah, in itself, although you may see Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask as 2 completely different things. Oh, side quests. If you want to get Fierce Deity's Mask, if you want to complete 100% the game, you have to do, like, half the game is side questing. There's 52 heart pieces to find. Ridiculous, because there's only 4 dungeons that will give you heart containers for each boss fight. Now, if you didn't go around collecting any heart pieces, that would leave you with 7 heart containers at the end of the game. I'm sorry, but I'm not about to take on the final boss with 7 heart containers. Are you? That sounds kind of sick. And demented in thinking. It's like, I'm crazy, I'm gonna go fight the final boss with 7 heart containers. Or even scarier, the 3 heart runs that people can do. I don't know how you can do that. But yeah, to get Fierce Deity's Mask, you have to find, literally, you have to do side quests for literally like 25 different no, there's only 24 masks. For like 15 different masks you can get optionally. But if you want Fierce Deity's Mask, which is the best mask in the game, can kill Majora's Mask, the final boss, without a second thought. You can do it with your eyes closed. It's so easy. If you want to get that, you have to do all this crap. Some of these side quests are ridiculous, like the Cafe and Angie quest. I don't even want to go there. The Romani's Ranch quest, which I really didn't like. So yeah, there's just all this stuff involved in it. I hate it. So that kind of wraps me up for where I am here. This is just kind of my stand. I'm not going to say Ocarina of Time's better or Majora's Mask is better. I'm just saying they're two completely different games in themselves. A lot of people think Majora's Mask is just a dumb, stupid, tacked-on sequel to Ocarina of Time so that as a ploy so that Nintendo can make more money. And it was, but it wasn't a crappy, tacked-on sequel. It was its own idea, and it actually got a couple different mentalists thinking, like me, how I came up with all this stuff, all this complex stuff about Majora's Mask that a lot of people didn't think about before. You see, a lot of people don't think about this kind of stuff because we're simple-minded Americans. Nintendo had this all planned out. That's why they're Japanese. They can think, they can plan. They're smarter than us. So yeah, that's really my stand on the difference between Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. I'm not going to say one's better over the other, but I do like them both, one more than the other, for different reasons. So, take it how you want. I can't change your mind if you have your favorite already. I can't, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't convert you from thinking what you think, but just kind of give this stuff different thoughts. I mean, yes, Ocarina of Time was not necessarily an original idea. It was just a new way of doing the original The Legend of Zelda story, which is what everybody likes. Get all the best stuff, get all the pieces to fight the final boss, get all the best equipment, kill the final boss Ganon. Alright. Or you have a more story and mental wisdom building exercises, which is Majora's Mask. Kind of complex and mature, deep down roots that you have to think about. Really, really deep thought to actually get this far in mental knowledge. Like, all this stuff I came with is just the tip of the iceberg as far as what you could think about for Majora's Mask. I mean, there's just so much controversial material. I didn't really want to say controversial, but a lot of it can be misconstrued and be tossed in and thought about completely different ways. It's ridiculous. So yeah, this is really all Zero Cure Plus has to say on what he thinks of the difference between Ocarina of Time and the sequel to it, which was Majora's Mask. So, think what you guys want to think. I really can't change your minds, but honestly, the facts are right in front of you in this video. So, think what you want. I don't really require comments, but I want your guys' input on what you think of my thoughts on this. Or even if you have thoughts of your own, just comment in the little box below there. So, I'll just see you guys on my next vlog then. This was my first vlog, and I think it was actually fairly successful. So, Zero Year Plus signing off. I'll see you guys next time.